Alrighty, folks. I just wanted to do something a little bit different. Just because I tried to run this race by accident. It's a kind of a complicated story. I'll save you the details. But we eventually wrecked out. Never been more grateful for that because Pocono has just been a caution fest. But I wanted to make this video to show you how I go about making my thumbnails. I feel like this could be definitely interesting. I probably do something a little bit different than most people by using GIMP instead of Photoshop. So I just wanted to show you how I go about doing it. In case anybody out there is doing some YouTube super low budget, you can see what I'm doing. Not that it's necessarily like the end all be all, but I think it's interesting. I like videos whenever I see other people, other content creators showing what they do. So what I start off doing first is I usually either go to the chase cam or I will go to the rear chase. The rear chase, I already adjusted it and kind of made it look how I want, so I'm kind of going for this. But I'll show you in chase really quick of like how maybe you would go about doing that. So what you need to start off doing first is hit Control F12, and that allows you to pull up the camera. And then if it doesn't automatically open, you can click it here. You can use these controls to tweak it and do everything you want to do. But I use the keyboard to do it. I could not tell you what the buttons are to exactly do it. You just kind of get used to clicking stuff and doing it. But I'll try to walk you through what I'm doing here in just a second. What you need to do to really make sure that this all works correctly is whatever camera you're using, have it set to chase, or preferably you want to use one of the chase cams. It's a little bit better. And then change your aim type to static. What that allows you to do is you get the different orient controls, so you get to manipulate a little bit more. But if you click the A key, it's going to rotate you around to the left. If you click D, it's going to rotate you around to the right. If you click S, it's going to pull you back, and if you click W, it brings you in. If you hit hold the control key and then click A, it's going to pan to the left. So that can be helpful. D is going to pan to the right. S is going to tilt you down, and then W will tilt you up using the control key. And then Alt is going to tilt to the left. If you click A, and then D will tilt to the right. W is going to lift the camera up, like pivoting on the car, and then S is going to tilt you down. So I'm not going to go over those again, just because it's kind of tedious to think about and try to do at the same time, but just play around with it. It's the WASD keys and using control and all at different times to do stuff. So yeah, basically like what I would do is I would find a moment in the race where you were like, dang, that looked really cool, or you got something going on. This will be cool for you to be able to adjust. So I got Pocono in the back, turn 3, what turn 4, stuff like that. It's kind of cool. And then we got some cars behind us to add some stuff in the background. So get whatever adjustments you want to do, adjust the camera. However, I'm going to go back to I'm going to go back to the rear chase because I like this angle. And what you're going to do here, everything is set up exactly the same. What you're going to do here is change it from static FOV to zoom. What this is going to allow you to do is you're going to be able to pull back. I don't really know how to explain it super well. I know what I do. Nebin 5 went over this and it makes sense. So if you want a better description of how he does it, but you're going to click the S key and pull you back, right? But at the same time, we're going to adjust our zoom. So you can move your zoom at any point. See, let's say we're here, but watch the cars in the background. We're gonna do magic here. You pull it away, look how much bigger they get, right? The cars don't look, super tiny. I wish I had a go back button, but now what I can do is I can adjust everything in the frame to get it how I want it to look, because all the controls kind of do something for each other. Let's tilt it a little bit that way. I have an idea of what I want to do with this thumbnail, so kind of get all the cars in there, and then we have everything that we kind of want to see. So I'm trying to play off angles here. I I want these two cars are kind of lined up, so that's going to look good. You got to think like you're going to have like a kind of a square shape going on. I'm going to leave the wall straight across. I think that gives it kind of a realistic look. And then all the cars in the background are fine. I'm going to move the camera. All the cars in the background are fine. I think that they look okay. What I like to tweak with a little bit is changing our aperture. So what aperture does is that it allows you to get some more of that depth of field picture. That in combination with some motion blur really makes your pictures look a lot better from this. So crank up that motion blur and then, you know, hit the buttons a little bit, let them move around, and then we're going to kind of get to a good spot. So maybe go back a couple frames and then make sure you move forward because you want to make sure all your angles and shadows are going the right way. Let's go a little bit more forward. I think that looks pretty good. That's good. If I change my aperture though, like if you look at the cars in the background, specifically like this green car, he's going to get really blurry if we go from a 8 all the way down to like a 1. See how blurry he got? I wouldn't go all the way that low, just because it makes your like what's in the foreground kind of blurry too. You have to like play with it. But if you know anything about photography, like 2.8 is going to be a good, give you nice depth in the background, but also make sure stuff in the foreground is pretty sharp. See, like I said, so many cautions in this race. But like if you go to 1.4, the car's just a little fuzzy, right? Especially like right here, it just, the detail isn't quite there. So just tweak with it, see what works. You know, this is one of the settings you really got to play with to make it look how you want. But I think my car is good enough in focus here. I like it. And what I like to do, you could always just click print screen if you have that button and like grab it and just like, you know, pull a picture or whatever. I don't like doing that because down here in this corner, you'll see the iRacing symbol. So right there, that doesn't go away. So like you have to make sure like you leave out this bottom section of the thumbnail. If that works for you, that works for you. But what I do instead is I hit Control Shift and then print screen. And what that does is that it saves a screenshot in iRacing. You just click it and then you just name it something. So we're going to call it Pocono Crash, because I will remember that I want to go look at Pocono Crash. So we're going to click save. It's going to take a minute. Hit the space bar. Whenever it's done, it will open up the sim. You'll see all the controls. It usually takes a minute, so just hang tight and wait for it to be able to come through. Oh, there we go. So we have our screenshot. It will be saved as a TGA file because that's just what iRacing does. And then we're going to, I like to leave this up just in case I want to come back. I don't like to save the replays very often. So I will just leave it up and then I will just hit Windows and then we will open up GIMP. And you'll see that I have a bunch of different files going on in here, but we'll get this loaded up. So what you'll do is you'll click create. I don't think that you can do a 1080 in YouTube. I don't think that they like it at all. So what you're going to do is scroll down to the different image sizes and click the 720 HD P whatever. Click OK. Okay, we did something to it. So what we are going to do in GIMP is hit Control Alt and O, and that's going to pull up all your stuff. So you're going to want to go to Documents, iRacing, Screenshots, and then click Pocono or whatever you named your file, and then click Open. And usually what happens is that's going to be all zoomed in and not correct because whatever your screen dimensions are, they were probably 1440 or whatever. You're going to need to make sure that you click the Shift S button and pull it out. At this point, I like to change the opacity so I can still see the background, and make sure that your keep aspects are clicked on. If it's not, you can hit the Shift button and it will do it for you, but leave it on, that way you don't mess up proportions, and then kind of just drag it down to fit the screen. And boom, there you go. You have done it. go ahead and click another control. Sometimes for me, it just like freaks out, and then bring back up your opacity. So we have this picture. It looks fine, but we can make it look a little bit better. So what I like to do is just kind of adjust some of the color ratios of like the brightness and shadows and stuff like that. And the way I usually do it, if I think my picture needs some big corrections, I will pull up. Let me make this a little bit smaller so you can see what we're doing at the same time. So what this is, it brings up the histogram of the picture, and you can like drag these around, and you see how it makes the shadows really dark by messing with the black values, and then pulling this makes the whites really bright. You can do that. I don't think this picture needs it too much, so I'm going to show you something else, but you can grab this and adjust it and get some like cool contrasty pictures if that's what you're into. But I'm kind of going for a slightly more realistic look instead of like high contrast. So what I like to use is the levels, and then I'll move it back over here. What levels do, it's basically the same thing. I just feel like it gives a little bit better result in GIMP. It may not. It may just be I feel better about it myself. But like you can adjust these, and I like to put the black kind of where the black starts here, and then I want to bring the whites up to make the picture pop. So just whatever makes the whites like a little bright, right? And then you can use this to really set your midtones to whatever just kind of feels right. So just look at it, see like this is way too dark in the midtones, this is way too bright. So just adjust it until you feel good about it. And I think right there for me is pretty good. I think everything that I'm looking at I like. The colors just, you know, they pop a little bit. I think everything's good there. So we're gonna click OK. And what you could also do, if you know how to work white balances and color balances and stuff like that, you can do it, or you can just come over here and click some of the auto stuff. So this just kind of made the blues pop a little bit more, really like highlights the yellows, just makes it a little bit more contrasty, maybe catch your eye just a tiny bit. So that's really nice. I like to do that. And then I will go into, you know, brightness and no, this is the wrong one, sorry. Exposure, yeah, I'll go into exposure, and then I'll kind of tweak this, so like make it a little bit brighter. Let's split view. So if you split view, it lets you just kind of drag it around and see what you're doing. How much is that impacting? So that's kind of where we're at. Let's add some black values to it. And what I see that this does is it really like makes these like darker areas really pop a little bit more. I don't quite need that much though. And see, just makes it a little bit darker, a little bit more stand out. And then we'll go with that. So I don't do a ton of just tweaking on the picture, but I'll do a little bit, and then you can change like your temperature. So like this is, let's reset it. So this has just the slightest bit of warmth to it. I will just kind of dial that back just a touch. And to me, I think this is good. I can see that clearly there's a lot of like texture that isn't normally there, but you got to remember you're looking at the pictures at about like this size, right? So it's really small. You're not going to see all these details. And that's kind of the art of like thumbnail making, is that like you need to get like some of the important stuff good, and you should be fine. So like obviously this is like kind of punchy in colors, and that kind of works to catch the eye. So that's how I like to edit my pictures. Not a ton of editing. Sometimes iRacing will just give you a good picture straight out of the thing, and you don't really have to do any editing. Sometimes it's not so good. But what we will work on next is adding in our border. So what we will do is let's go ahead and create a new layer. So we're going to click new layer, and we'll label this one border with an O in it, or with a space in it for some reason, because I don't know how to type. And then if you just want a super simple border, what you could do is click select all. I'm going to show you a couple different options. Select all, click edit, and then which one is it? It's stroke selection. Let's say you want your border to be, I usually like to go with like a really bright color. So let's do a yellow. Okay. And then whatever your width is, usually like 6 to 8 is a good size. So we'll click stroke, and then it adds us like a little touch of a border. That's a little too thin for this one. So let's bump it up to, that looked really small. So let's do 11, and then stroke. And then like that gives you just like a little highlight of yellow. Honestly, we could go more. Let's go 18. So like that highlights the border, like it lets you see something, right? And then to give it some depth, what you can do is click select none. Alrighty, so to make this have kind of like a depth effect, what we're going to do is we're going to click select. Sorry, I've already done it. So select, and then you click all on the border, and then you're going to come over here to filters, and then hit light, and then drop shadow. And then you can adjust your settings to do what you want. So this is this adjust where the shadow should show up. We're going to bump up our opacity and then our glow radius, so you can see it's starting to darken in the corners. If you want it to like be really contrasty and like it's just, you know, like a picture frame almost, set your blur radius to something really low, and then to make it more darker and more intense, you just increase your glow radius, and then it just makes it a little bit more obvious. And if you want it to be more dispersed, you know, more shadowy, you can do it that way. So that's a really easy way to make a border, to like kind of work with your picture. It also leaves a lot of real estate in the frame to do whatever. So that is definitely an option for you to do. I'm going to show you another thing that you can do. So we are going to delete this layer, and then we will create a new one, and then also call it border. And then what we're going to do with this one is we're going to hit the rectangle select tool, and then you can adjust your rounded corners. So I have it set to 18, and then I'll just kind of pull the frame. Let me adjust it really quick because I want to look a specific type of way. So this is kind of what I've been doing recently, this like nice thicker border kind of look. I've kind of enjoyed it. I'm going to change it so whatever color you want, I'm going to kind of make it this like teal-ish color. And then we are going to click our paint bucket, and see, we want it to be on this outside. So what we're going to do is we're going to select and then invert, pop the color there. Now you're like, oh gosh, that doesn't look good. That's like, what the heck are you doing there? It just, you know, this giant teal blur everywhere. If we click that and we change it to, oh wait, no, we need to do it over here. If we click under the mode and we change it to, let's do vivid light. That doesn't look really great. So let's change it to heart light maybe? No, I don't like that one either. Just play with these and change them around. These are like different. This is a good one. So like it just kind of gives you this like transparent look while also like being something a little bit different, right? So definitely try this out, play with it, you know, changing what your modes are, and then give yourself like this outside border, and you can adjust it to look however you want, but we're just going to go with this one. And then just like the other one, I kind of want this like pop of color around the frame, right? So let's go to stroke selection, and then we're going to change our color. Let's change it back to that yellow, so we can click down here of our preset colors and click OK. And then I don't want it to be quite as big, so let's drop it down to 12, and then click. Oop, we have made a mistake. Change it back to invert. That way it's the normal thing. And then let's go to, because we want to put the border around this part. Then we're going to click stroke selection, do the same thing, click stroke, and there you go, you have it. Now, what you can also do is create a new layer, and then it's just going to become border 1, and then do it again. It's on the normal mode, and then what this is going to do is give you just a solid color on the outside instead of it being the kind of the same look here. So that's an option you can do as well. And then I think that it's still a little bit too big, so I'm just gonna tweak it really quick. Go down to a 6. I think that's good for me. Now you could just leave it like this. This could be fine, right? But maybe you want, we intentionally set this up to do a certain thing. And what I am looking to do is I want to have these parts kind of stick out of the frame. I want it to kind of look like the cars are coming at you, right? So before we do that, let me do something else really quick. I'm just going to put that shadow on the yellow part. So I've already created a preset. So it's called Border Inside, and it just gives a little bit of depth rate. And the way you can make presets, if you just click that, adjust whatever you want and then click this, and it will let you name it to whatever you want. We're going to click OK, and it just gives it a little bit of depth, right? But we want these cars to kind of pop out at us, right? And I think that looks really, really cool and unique. So what we are going to do is we're going to click on our Pocono Crash, and then we're going to click on our little rectangle select, and then we want these two cars to jump out at us. So what we will do is we'll just pull it here, and you will see like this, this haze. You want to go beyond that. So you don't need to go super far, but just a little bit beyond the shadow, and then obviously get the full left side of this car in it and everything like that. So it looks kind of like that. And then you're going to just click Control C and then Control V and move the Pocono copy, move it to the top. And it's going to look like this. And you're like, what the heck? That doesn't look right. But what you can now do is go in and start erasing this and, get it to where you want it, and see how that just kind of starts to blend in. It just looks right. You can do that. Now, I haven't had this happen, but sometimes you can have it where you go to do this and you're not deleting anything. It just kind of does this weird thing. What I would encourage you to double check is make sure that this is actually not bolded in the font. So, and the way that you do that is you add an alpha channel, and basically that allows you to have the transparent background, and our TGA file doesn't have that. So we could have added that if we were going to delete stuff, but usually I don't edit that. It is what it is, and it stays that way. But I'm going to just take a second and just go through and... Oh, I'm editing on the wrong thing. Make sure you click the right file. So I'm just going to go through and just kind of clean this up and make it look right. I think I maybe have broke something. Let me invert really quick. Can I get rid... Okay, I can just get rid of that. So we'll do that really quick. From switching it, removing the alpha channel and adding it back, it just kind of messed it up a little bit. So you shouldn't run into that, but if you do, you can just invert. Let me clean this up really quick, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how we just make it pop a little bit more, and then we'll move on to fonts and stuff like that. I do want to show you really quickly that instead of using the eraser tool, you can click the little lasso, the free select, and you can just start dragging points and do it this way, especially in like these tighter areas. Just go ahead and just grab stuff. I'll just show you, but you just kind of grab it wherever you want it, and then once you're trying to connect it, just click enter and it'll automatically do it. And now you can just click the delete button and it deletes it. So that's also a little quicker way to get those details out. Alrighty, so we have it all selected, and then we're just going to click delete, and then boom, it's gone. So that is how you can now, so like, you look at this, you're like, oh, that's super cool. It's kind of like popping off the screen. That looks really neat, but like it just kind of sits out awkwardly. So you just kind of want to do something to set it into the picture and make it look a little bit more realistic. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and grab our brush, and then we're just going to paint. Oh, I have the wrong color selected. Grab you a black, and then you can kind of start to build in your shadows. So I like to soften up from hardness and force, and that's just going to help you create like this like softer look. But I would just drop that in really quick. So do it on your border or whatever. If you plan on reusing this, make a copy so you don't lose it or like damage it, but just add this like this little touch in, and that just, it looks a little bit more realistic. We can even soften it up a little bit more, and then just like add a little bit down in here. And see, that just, it makes it look like it just blends in a little bit more. That way it's just not like floating. Just add that in a couple times. See, and it's a little detail, like most people aren't going to notice it, but it just helps a little bit. That way, you know, like I said, like you're not just like floating a car in there. And then boom, you know, it kind of looks like the car's like driving out of the border. It gives it a little bit more oomph, for lack of better words. Next, what you can do is you can add some text. So I don't know what I'm going to call this, but let's just say let's change it to, I want the color to be white. So making thumbnails. Okay. And now we are going to, just so we can see the entire thing, kind of just bring it into screen and then adjust it a little bit. You're probably like, hey man, like that is super hard to see. That doesn't look good at all. And I would agree with you. It doesn't quite look good yet. But we need to move this to the very top and then kind of sit it somewhere like that. What I like to do is I will come in here and grab the perspective tool, and you see we got this wall, right? Let's make this thumbnail kind of move to the wall. So we're going to pull this corner down a little bit and then bring it up there, move it up, and just kind of adjust it where it looks like it's like trailing the wall, right? I just think that that is a nice little touch. It's simple, and you can like, maybe you want it to slant, you can do that. You can do all kinds of stuff, but we're just going to have it be straight up and down, and then just make the side just a tiny bit smaller. That way it looks like it's like trailing off into the background. So something like that. And we're going to click that, and then come over here to the right side and then click alpha to selection. And what that's going to do is going to just put an outline around all your words and stuff like that. We're going to set a black and a white or whatever colors you want, and then change from the fill to the gradient. And if you hold control and then set your, come over here, it will probably be set to this to default, but make sure whatever your color is, you know, the foreground to background RGB or something like that. I like it to be the other way. So we're going to grab from the bottom, and then you can just kind of like tweak with this. So like, you know, you want it to have some contrast to it, right? But maybe not like a ton, or maybe you want a ton, right? I don't know. It's your video. It's your thumbnail. Make whatever you want. I kind of want it to be a little bit more symmetrical, so we're going to go with that. That way it's a little dark over here, a little dark over there. And then just to lighten it up just a touch, pull these around. Oh my gosh. There we go. And it kind of has like this like metal-ish look, right? And then we're going to click the move tool so it saves it and it doesn't move, and then select none. And then boom, we have our letters, but you're like, dang, I still can't see this M. That's okay. We're going to do our filters, light and shadows, drop shadows, and then you can adjust this however you want. So let's zoom in here so we can see right around the M. And it's making the adjustment to the entire word, but we're going to adjust this. This is a personal preference. I like it whenever it's like perfectly symmetrical around. So I set the X and Y offsets to be 0 and 0. And then I dial this back. If we're trying to do an outline, set the blur radius to 0. Crank up the opacity. And then the grow radius is going to change the thickness of the outline. So, now you can see that really pops, right? So you can like tweak with that, do whatever you gotta do to make it look however you want. To me, that looks pretty good. And then we are going to click OK. And then let's say maybe you want to do like a shadow or something. I have a preset for it, but it's black font shadow. It's what I use to make it look right. It's always set to diamond, so what it does, it just makes like the stuff around it a little bit sharp, but I usually try to keep it as circles, but it just kind of adds this blur to it and makes it pop. And let's say you just want to change the color, you can make it red or blue or something, whatever makes you happy, right? And then be done with that. I'm not going to do this because I don't actually want it on there, but you can see what it looks like here and then what the original looks like. So we're just going to leave it there. If you wanted this wall to kind of come up and like hide the letters, what you could do is the same thing of coming down here, and you could, go through and, click each individual point and like make it do it. And you really only need it to there, and then we'll come back across, and then you can just control copy, control V, do whatever you gotta do, and we'll move that up. And obviously you would need to delete it over here, but see, it just makes it like hide behind there. Let me get rid of all the selection, but it hides it behind the wall. Let's delete it. Oh, let's set our hardness and stuff back, but you can like delete this. In the meantime, I think that you get the idea, right? You just have to spend some more time to make it look right. I'm not going to do it right now because that's not the look I'm going for. But yeah, that's kind of how you would do it, and I'm just going to get rid of that. But that could be a quick little thumbnail. And then let's say maybe you want to throw in some, like, this is the Cup Series. Maybe you want that Cup Series logo into your frame. What you can do is open up iRacing. You won't be able to see it on my screen, unfortunately, to my knowledge. I won't be able to show it to you, but what you would do is you just grab this logo. You see how I have it, and then just drop it onto your desktop. If you have a second screen or something like that, just drop it on there. I'm going to do that. Just imagine that I did it, and then you can just drag it back over, and then boom, now you have that logo. Took you no time at all. Change the size of it to whatever you're thinking. That looks good to me. And then we can like put a little like rotation on it, just a little bit. You don't want like 15 degrees or anything like that, but like if I could adjust it 4 degrees, that we'll go with that. Move it over here, and you kind of want to keep this corner open because this is where like the timestamp pops up. You don't want to be interfering with that. It just makes a mess. So have that there, and then if you go to like the iRacing website, you can find all of the thumbnails or the logos and stuff like that you may want for like an iRacing logo, or you can also pull it off the internet, whatever works for you. But that is kind of how I do it. So I have all the images saved, so I'll just click Control-Alt-O. So I have this one that I will just like kind of drop it there. We'll adjust it just a tiny bit. And then boom, we have our iRacing logo. You can get other ones, but this is fine. And then if you want, you can add a little drop shadow. So leave it to 2020 and everything like that. We'll tighten this up, make it a little bit darker. Nope, wrong thing. but you can add a little bit of a shadow and see like it being at 2020, it just has like some distance from it. But if you want it to be, you know, just a direct shadow over it, you can just adjust it. So that looks pretty good. We'll make it just a touch darker, and then boom. And let's just say that's what you want to do. This is your thumbnail. I honestly don't hate this. I think it looks pretty good. Something that we just made really quickly. Didn't take too much effort or time. And I think that you made a pretty good product that like is going to be eye-catching and get somebody's attention. So easy enough. And then what we will do is we'll click File and then Export it. And then find wherever you want to export it. I usually do under Pictures. And here's all my other files. And then we'll just title it making thumbnail. If I can type. And then click Export. It's going to give you a little message for like a PNG to, you know, make sure everything's right, I guess. You can just click Export and then it will be good. There you go. You have your thumbnail created, and you can upload it to your video, and it's gonna look pretty great, and you're gonna be really happy, and hopefully other people will be like, dang, that's a really cool thumbnail, and they'll click it, right? So that's just one of the things that I wanted to try and make it a little bit easier. I think that like we all really enjoy, like, you know, the racing part of iRacing, but if you're doing like the content creation stuff, this is something that I don't really see a ton of videos on, and I really don't see hardly any on for GIMP. So if you are using GIMP, you know, go ahead and try it out, put it together, see what it turns out to be, and hopefully you can make some really cool thumbnails and you know, enjoy them and happy about them. I definitely think that GIMP has improved my ability to make some fun thumbnails, and it's really not that difficult once you figure out what to do. But I hope you all enjoyed it. If you could, go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. If you enjoy videos like this, let me know down below. I've enjoyed making this video so far, so if you are more into this side of the you know, content creator iRacing stuff, let me know. I would be happy to throw some more videos together, because I think it's really cool, really fascinating. You don't know it until you see somebody else do it, and you're like, dang, that's actually really good. So yeah, if you could, go ahead, leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. I'll see you in the next one.